Good afternoon, Alan Osborne. And it's the second show of the day. It's be for August 2nd. We're going to get into some things I want to clarify. We're a little blurry today. Let me see if we can change that up. There's an event next Thursday at 6 p.m. at Los Rancheros in Santa Rosa Beach. I got this yesterday, and guess what it says? It says, come meet the candidates. And the candidates are Sheriff Atkinson, Boots McCormick, Tony Anderson, and Chuck Wilder. So what that says is, to me, is that the cabal, the good old boys, and I guess Los Rancheros, their locations are in on it because it says they're giving free hors d'oeuvres and drinks. They didn't invite them to meet everybody, just those people. So you people that aren't with the cabal, you know where not to eat. That's where I'm not going to eat. And I'm going to tell everybody, don't eat there. Because if these people support corruption. Now, I bet they're a big fan of Sheriff Atkinson because that's probably Democrat land right there. I bet there's a lot of illegal immigrants right there working in that. That's what I'd bet. I'm tired of this bullshit. So, since you didn't invite us, Los Rancheros, the rest of the candidates, just know, there you go. You didn't want two sides of the story. Well, here's another side of the story for the sheriff. Here's a side of him I want you to see. Let me read you while we're talking about the sheriff. Now, if you don't see the switch, they must know that Trey Nick, okay, the corruption quartet has now taken Nick out of the mix and tried to insert Boots back in there. And they're probably telling Boots, oh, Boots, we're behind you. But really all they're trying to do is try to make Boots look better because they're afraid Dan Curry's going to beat Trey. And then Trey is he's got this ethics complaint, and him and Tony Anderson are all tied up together, and Tony's trying to distance himself from this mess, even though he's completely in the middle of this lawsuit and the ethics complaint. And Tony never said anything right until he was caught red-handed. In fact, Tony tried to delete all the text. So let's go on back to the corruption quartet. Boots, don't eat the bait, Boots. I wouldn't even go to that. I wouldn't be associated with those people, Boots. They set you up for the lawsuit. Let me go into some more documents I've got right here. I'm just going to read them so I don't have to put them up on the thing. But I can. And I'm reading the deposition of Michael Atkinson. Hold on here. Now we're going on the Los Rancheros. Hang on. So we'll just interview ourselves with Mike here. Hey, Mike, I'm going to read your deposition. This was Mike's deposition of the court case that Tracy Voss was found guilty over, okay? This is Mike's deposition when he's asked. He's asked about hiring Tracy and about the internal investigation before he was sued. Mike did an internal investigation, and it was found to be sustained, is what I understand. But listen to what Mike, I don't want to put words in Mike's mouth. I'm going to read these. And okay, here's the question from the attorney. I assume it's Miss Maddox. And she says, okay, you mean to tell me that as the sheriff, you did not look at the outcome of this internal investigation? And this is in the Bradley case with Voss. This doesn't have anything to do with the stuff he'd already been in Okaloosa County and had all those issues over there when the sheriff hired him. Now remember, the sheriff sent Voss to train him because he wasn't a firefighter. The sheriff did this. So after all this stuff came out and there was an internal investigation and it was over, Miss Maddox asked the sheriff, you mean to tell me that as sheriff, you don't look at the outcome of internal investigations, but you fire the crap out of new people? And his answer was, hold on, yes, that's exactly correct. The sheriff doesn't even read an internal investigation. You think he's going to read anything you send him to get investigated? I believe the words coming from my number two in command. Yes. And what he's saying is, I didn't read it. I just asked Donnie Clark, that's his number two, I guess. It doesn't say in here, to read it and tell me the Cliff Notes version, because I'm too busy driving to Tallahassee to teach class, and we've been opening up some LLCs back then, you know. Anyway, and he said, yeah, I didn't read it. The bottom line, his answer was yes. Question, And so did you see this document, the internal investigation summary that's been marked Exhibit 22 in this court case? Answer, yeah. About, and then there's a pause. And I'm going to assume this is the document that I looked at about 5 minutes ago, and I read the last paragraph of the summary. So no, I have not read this document. So Mike's getting sued over an internal investigation over the senior guy over all his fire services, and he didn't bother to read it, because that's how little he cares about your tax money. That's how little he cares about standards. It's all about, this was Tracy, I got to keep him because Grand Fountain had me hire him from Okaloosa County, and I must protect my phony baloney position and do what the fatter man tells me to. And he did. So the lawyer says to him, question, okay, how is it then as sheriff that without reading documents like this about someone that you put as the head of fire rescue, and you don't know the context of the allegations that 3 women made against him, you don't know the context? Answer, no. I explained to you the way the context was explained to me. Well, if Donnie Clark didn't explain to you that, and he was your number 2 in here, doesn't mention him, but that's who your number 2 is, Sheriff. If he didn't explain it right to you and it got you in a lawsuit, what was the discipline action for Donnie Clark? So that sheriff's answer is no. I explained it to you the way the context was explained to me. Question, but you never read any of the documents. You never read anything to include their interview. So he didn't even read anything about it. And then his attorney, Mr. Vale, because we're paying to defend him, objects to form, but the sheriff has to answer, and he says correct, absolutely correct. The sheriff's proud that he didn't read this, because the sheriff is judge and jury, and the sheriff had his mind made up, just like when we asked him, what'd you do to advertise the jail job? Well, I didn't, because I knew who I was going to hire, just like in this case with Tracy. He hired Corey Godwin, who was 16 years unqualified to do the job, so Mike rewrote it for him. And I guess he's rewriting Tracy's to say that sexual harassment, and that was in another part of Tracy's thing, was that there was a culture in the department of issues like that. So I just want to go on with that, so hold on just a second. Anyway, so that's the sheriff, and that's how he leads. He don't read. He's judge and jury, and whatever's in his mind is the truth. He don't read those silly reports. And after all, he got told to hire that guy, and he does what he wants. But that's what your tax money goes to. The sheriff's just out of control with that. And the sheriff won't condemn Nick, but it looks like they've pushed Nick out, like I said, they're trying to make a last-ditch effort to replace Nick because they must think he's going to lose. And they just don't want the embarrassment. They're all trying to distance themselves. But this is what the board looked like when the Tony and Trey incident, the racial text and the naked woman. This is what your board looked like on the BCC. And so there's Trey. He'd already got some bags under his eyes since he got in office already by this time. So there's Trey, and let's go see. Now remember what Trey says. We'll go back to the Trey subject. Trey says, first, that this 3-year lawsuit where nobody objected that the texts weren't real, and Tony told people he got them, and 10 other people got them, that somehow Trey was hacked in his text, not his Facebook account or something that we've all had hijacked before, but his personal texts were hijacked for that moment in time. And that somehow either they were unhijacked during the naked woman texts and somebody played all those other roles and those other people answered them back. Was Heather Maxwell hijacked too, Trey? Was Tony's aides and Tony, were they all hijacked too? I mean, I'm unsure how this hacking and hijacking has just to do with those texts. And the fact that they hacked you again 40 minutes later and sent some more, I guess with your phone. Could you just explain that to us? Because let me take you to how you explained it to Mark Holmes. I wasn't there, so I'm going to let this guy who put this out there on public media, I'm going to let you tell him I'm going to let Mark tell us what you said. Hold on there, Trey.
To talk about these tags. As some of you may have seen this morning, Mr. Trey Nick was on the south side of the 331 bridge waving at people. Well, I thought that'd be a great opportunity, especially since I had a bunch of people call and tell me he was there, to go and have a conversation with them. We had a great conversation, okay? We talked about these texts, and Mr. Nick was adamant, and when I say adamant, the fullest extent of the word, he did not write these texts. He was adamant that these texts were fake. He was adamant that his phone must have been hacked. That's how we got these texts. Now, the thing is, these texts were in a lawsuit that the county was involved in. Someone received them, got them through a public records request. I guess I'm confused on if these were fake or his phone was hacked. Then why would a judge allow fake information into a lawsuit, especially a lawsuit that happened almost 3 years ago now? That's where I'm confused. Mr. Nick was adamant that he did not send these texts or he didn't write them, that his phone must have gotten hacked or something. I'm going to tell you right now, it's 2024, and the first excuse someone's going to give you when it comes to something social related or technology related is they were hacked. Mr. Nick was not hacked. He sat there, looked me square in the eye, and lied to my face. Okay? Because I asked him, I said, well, if this is all true and what you're saying is true, Mr. Nick, why don't you come out and tell the community that? Why don't you come out and tell the people in this county who look like me that's the case? He said, well, because they're just allegations. And I said, well, Mr. Nick, if someone accused me of something like this, of calling people niggers, I'm pretty sure I'd want to come out and try to get ahead of it. And you're not. You've been radio silent for months now. So, this is what I have to say about the conversation I had with Mr. Nick. I think he lied. I think he knows he's been caught. And I think he is just groveling to try to stay in a position of power. Walton County, we don't need people like this on our board of county commissioners. We don't need people who send texts like this, Tony included, okay? Mr. Nick, I appreciate the conversation you had, that me and you had, but unfortunately, sir, I think you're full of it. Hope everyone has a great Wednesday.
Mark, I couldn't have said it better myself. I only wish I could have been there to see the look on Trey's face when you asked him. And we all know this isn't the first time with Trey. We know it happened with his aide, Scott, when his Scott was a commissioner. So this is an attitude of what's allowed and tolerable in the county. And just imagine, and let's make no mistake, this discrimination isn't limited to color. Look, there's certain churches that get what they want in this county. You're either with the elected and connected or you're discriminated against. You're in the other category. You might go to the wrong church. You might not have been born in Walton County. You might be related to somebody that slept with somebody in their family. Or you could get in like Chaz by having naked pictures of some of them as leverage, so you're in the club. So we'll end this last show for the day with Trey talking to Colby Anderson and Chaz about, look, man, somebody hacked my phone text. And me and your dad, look what they sent to your dad, Colby. And it looks like he screamed violation, but I guess we'll never know the truth. But we do know that hundreds of thousands of dollars were paid out to keep this quiet. And somewhere in there, it appears some girl got roofied. You can't make those texts up. Till next time, vote them out. Vote for Marano, Murray, Drake, Curry. Let's see, did I leave anybody out? I think that's all of them. So, till next time, you can't make this shit up, but you can unelect it. And I'm Alan Osborne. Thank you.